going on YouTube? So we're going to focus on the fuel pump to get this new year started on the vehicle. 98 Honda Prelude. So the first things we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting the fuel system updated, and then we'll work on some other things as well. So I wanted to go over just a few simple steps. I find it simple. You may find it easier not to even take these steps, but I remove the passenger seat. I also remove the driver's seat because I was working on the center console. To move on, I removed the rear seat, and let's going to go over a few steps. I tried to find some more information with the torque specifications for some of these bolts. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find all that I needed, but we'll get what we can get. So let's go ahead and move on to the rear seat. We'll get that removed, which you can see I've already done, but I'll go over a few steps and we'll go from there. Alright, so don't mind the mess. It's a little dirty in here. So to start with is the bottom cushion and this particular fastener to the seat itself. The instructions indicate that you should push down on the seat cushion, remove this pin back, and then lift up on the seat cushion. And that'll remove that lower section. And there's two of them, one on each side. Be careful not to break these. I don't think they're relatively available and at ease of finding. Once you do that, you can remove where the retaining metal bracket type instrument goes up in here. You'll push the seat up and remove it. So there you go for the seat cushion. Next you move on to the actual backrest, which is attached by these brackets and 10mm sockets. Bolts. So I take my 10mm and lower it down. I've lowered the seat down and then just remove these two bolts. It's pretty simple, not too hard. Next we will need to remove that bracket there. This is the rear bracket. This will give us access to the fuel pump access panel, also the gauge panel plate for the setting unit. Excuse my inability to speak. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove all these. These are 10mm, and these are some of the bolts that I could not find the information on for torque specifications. I would imagine, again, they're around 10 to 12. If I do find that information, I'll post it on the video. If you have that information, feel free to put it down there as well. Something to touch base on that rear backrest is that you'll have the fabric that will need to be removed from the back of that so you can access these. So remember those little clips, these little tiny clips as they were. Just try to be gentle with them. Sometimes you can reuse them, sometimes they break. The way you remove them to gain access to the 10mm on those supports right there. So now we have access to our access panel, as it were, and those should be just a few Phillips. Looks like there's 4 of them. And don't forget, here's your wiring, so make sure that you're nice to that when you take off the support. We'll go ahead and remove the Phillips on the 4s. Now I do have a sound system, and this can be a bit tough to gain access to all those things. So try to just keep that in mind to do the best you can. So we'll go ahead and get those removed and we'll move on. So here's a tool that I've used when I've been in a bind and trying to reach. Sorry for the focus issues. For some reason this camera doesn't like to focus all the time. But here's something that I can reach into tight spots such as this, and without having to remove, like, say, the sound system, etc. So something cool to have. A little Harbor Freight special tool. I'm going to get that access panel completely removed. So here we go. So with our 4 Phillips removed, we have access to the access panel, and We'll start off with just taking a quick look, and we'll get the wires disconnected on the bottom side here, and then I recommend that you vacuum before you start removing anything. Get yourself a shop vac and just get that quick and dirty stuff off of there, whether you've got dust, dirt, grime. It's a precautionary measure. Give it the best you can, and then move on, and we'll start moving on along, getting that fuel pump up and out. All right, there it is. I used my vacuum to the best of my ability to get any kind of crud, dust, dirt. Not perfect, not really going to be able to get 99% of the stuff in all the little crevices, unless you have a really cool tool attachment, which I do not. So first I did remove the electrical harness connection on the fuel pump itself. I did not mess with the sending unit for level. I did remove the white retaining clip on the access panel so that I could move that to the side and there was no stress on the wires. We'll remove the 2 lines attached to the fuel pump, which should be your feed and your return, I believe, and then the vent. I want to say that's your vent. If I'm wrong, if you know what those are, if I have them in the wrong order, go ahead and update that down in the comment sections below. We'll go ahead and get those 6 nuts off of the panel, and anything that might be associated that will give us any troubles. I will disconnect these, and we'll put a nitrile glove over each so the risk of contaminants can be reduced. That's it so far. We'll go ahead and move on forward. So something I like to do when I remove these is have an extra towel available in the event that you get a little fuel. So just keep that in mind. These clips can break, so be very careful. You will need a replacement if you do break that. The lines look good. I did relieve the pressure on the fuel cap, as well as disconnect the battery before I started this process. So something to keep in mind. There was a little bit of a drippage when I removed this line right here, and the back line, this one right there. I didn't see a drop, but I did enjoy the smell of ethanol with the gas mix in there. It's quite nice. One of my favorite smells for the reminder of the cars is ethanol. It smells sweet like sugar. Anyway, protect those with a nitrile glove. And something that helps me out when I'm removing these, which they can be a bit of a booger, is to get a flathead screwdriver, and I use my fingers to collapse the clip towards the pipe, and then I slowly push back. So I'll use my finger to pinch these here as such, push down, and then I use my other hand with the flathead to push with a bit of ease and gentleness to push the actual line off of the solid line there, and it comes off pretty quickly and pretty easily if you're nice and gentle with it. Maybe that'll help you if you're having some problems with that. So we'll go ahead and get these 10 mils off. Should be 10s. Let's make sure. Yep, 10s. So we'll go ahead and get these out, and we'll see what we got when we pull this puppy out. Pretty simple, nothing too hard. Even with this in the way, instead of just pulling it straight back, I managed to just kind of angle it out, as it were. Now, this is a Willowbro. Zoom in here, or focus. Should be a 255. And the strainer, I'm just letting it drip, letting it kind of do its thing. Extra rags, just to kind of ensure I don't get it all over the place. Go ahead and remove all this stuff. I'm gonna put this to the side. We'll get on the workbench at some point to put the new Grams 320 liter per hour fuel pump in. But at this point, we're going to let that just drain out. So good to see that that was a quality fuel pump. Never had an issue with it. Never had an issue with fuel pressure. But we're going to upgrade. And now that we know what we had, that's great. You know, somebody put that in there a long time ago. It was not me. So that's kind of nice to see. We'll go ahead and let that drip drain, and I will get a transfer pump and remove the remaining fuel from the tank. That's the goal as of now, to complete that. Then we'll get on the bench and we'll remove this. And this pump, regardless if it was OEM or aftermarket performance, it should be about the same in its overall removal and replacement.
I gave you my heart.